Team Sonic Racing is a boring kart racer that I heavily dislike for multiple reasons. When it was first being teased, yeah, they teased the kart racing game. It was hyped up as if it was the next big Sonic game. Full-on CGI trailers, a main theme by Crush 40, the Sonic R symbol was in the freaking logo. Like, this was set to be the best Sonic racing game of all time. The last two racing games had entirely Sega casts, not just Sonic. They were still considered pretty good, seeing all the Sega characters together in one game, as well as having the second one specifically standing out against the rest of the games by having its own gimmick of transforming from a car to a boat to a plane. But one thing many people were clamoring for was a spin-off of these games featuring mainly characters from the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Having it just be Sonic this time would be the perfect opportunity to not just have the mainstays that we all know, but maybe even a few obscure characters. Maybe the Hooligans could come back after another chance from Sonic Mania. Maybe Marine the Raccoon could come back, the Babylon Rogues, or maybe we could get some IDW characters like Tangle the Lemur. Please. At the very least, we can rest assured knowing that Sally Acorn will never be added. So, what was the final roster? 4/5 of this roster was in the last release Sonic Forces. So, immediate problem here. This is an incredibly boring roster. Of course, you have the characters that have to be here. All of the Genesis characters and Shadow. Then you have Silver, a few extra characters, and well, we'll slap him in somewhere. These are just some of the most basic character picks that you could have ever pulled out. And only 15 of them? Am I happy Big the Cat is here? Yeah, of course. But do I want it to stop at him? No! Where's Tails' parents from Archie? Obviously, I don't want them to go too crazy with the picks, pulling out Sonic's robot dad or something, but at least spice your roster up a little bit. This is smaller than Mario Kart 8's roster. On Wii U. Without the DLC. When you first start the game. I'm sorry that I'm getting really upset over a stupid Sonic racing game, but this is just not that great of a roster. On top of that, some of these teams just make zero sense. Of course, you have Team Sonic, Team Dark, and Team Rose with a group of Chow instead of Cream the Rabbit for some reason. Okay. Team Vector with Silver and Blaze. You couldn't get his own team? They were in the last game! Team Eggman Empire with Eggman, Metal Sonic, and Zavok, the guy who wants Eggman's head on a stick. Cool. Dude, Sega was trying to make Zavok a thing so bad. They put him in this game, Sonic Forces, the IDW comics, the Archie comics, Mario and Sonic at the real 2016 Olympic Games. Really? Like, if you want to put him in Team Sonic Racing, sure, go ahead. But put him in a team that makes sense. Don't put him in a team with the guy he wants on his wall and perceive that he's loyal to him. Screw off. I don't understand how you can have a series known for Sonic's abundance of annoying friends and yet you don't use them. But a roster isn't everything. It's all about the racing. What do I think of the racing? It's fine. Well, before we even start driving our car, this is probably one of, if not the best looking Sonic game of all time. I don't know what Sumo Digital put in this game to make it look this visually stunning, but it was probably something very, very illegal. Every stage is wonderfully lit. It has incredibly high quality textures. The only Sonic game that I'd say remotely compares to this game visually is something like Sonic Unleashed, and honestly, I think that this game has a slight edge. I don't know what exactly it is, but something about it just looks superior to Unleashed. Maybe the lighting's better, maybe it's the fact that the game's, for the most part, on newer gen hardware. I don't know. The controls and physics of the game are ripped straight from the second Sega racing game, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, but without the transforming parts of it. It's all really fun to control, and dare I say, more fun than Mario Kart, but it feels really empty without the transforming elements that helped Sonic's previous racers stand out so much, where you'd be racing on a regular track before something happens and your car transforms. In Team Sonic Racing, however, the whole gimmick isn't something grand like changing the entire track. Instead, it's a reference to a good game. Sonic Heroes, some call it a good game, I call it a good game. It had you controlling 3 characters in a team, a speed type character, a flight type character, and a power type character. They'd each have their own roles to play and be able to reach certain routes that other characters can't. In Team Sonic Racing, this is adapted into a racing game, except it doesn't work unless you're playing with multiple people. And as we'll see later, that isn't possible for some people. The game depends on you working with your teammates to all rank high in the rankings, as well as working together by flowing in a teammate stream or trading items with someone in order to fill up the team ultimate gauge. That gives you a big boost of speed. However, an easy way to do this is to trick the AI into thinking you constantly need items by pressing the circle button over and over and over and over and over again until the gauge is filled. It really ruins the game for if you're trying to play the game on your own. With 3 or more people, it can be alright, but it just doesn't change the fact that I can't have a good time on my own. This, on top of more than half of the tracks being reused from the previous racing games, it really doesn't change how you play the game or anything. Well, what if you are on your own and you want a better experience? Well, for one, you could go play Transformed. The solo matches! These are basically the team races, but even more bland and boring than before. If you want to play a Sonic racing game without the transforming by yourself, I may have found the perfect game. Along with the solo matches is also an adventure mode. A few of the Sonic racing games that released before the Sega racing games, such as Sonic Riders, had a form of adventure mode where you'd have a set of predetermined races with cutscenes slapped in, and they were pretty fun little distractions back then, but what does Team Sonic Racing have that they don't? Why is Sonic so ugly? Yeah, this isn't fun. It's literally just the team races in single player with the paper cutout cutscenes rather than fully animated ones, and characters that we can go against but can't play as. Which sounds pretty cool, but I'm kinda bummed that I can't play as the Death Egg Robot after beating him. Don't know why he's here though. Despite all of that though, there is one thing that I do believe Team Sonic Racing does that's pretty alright. The garage. In the garage, you have complete reign over the design of your character of choice's vehicle. I'm talking the color of each part, the design of each part, the tires, the horn, the decals, it's got everything. It's so cool to see all this customization in a mascot racing game, and I think it's really the only big one to have customization on this scale. It also came back in Sonic Colors Ultimate, but it actually didn't because that game doesn't exist in my vocabulary after this very second. And of course, what is a modern day racing game without online? Let's wrap this up so I can talk about the differences already. So, concluding this part, Team Sonic Racing has some kinda cool parts like the customization, visuals, and such, but it's still a generic racing game that doesn't do much to stand out, and for someone like me who's been playing the other Sega racing games, it hurts more to have half of the stages in this game reused and lack of transforming. If you haven't played those other games and don't care that it doesn't really have anything fully unique and just want to have a fun time with the mainstay Sonic characters, it's perfectly fine. And hey, the game is mostly sold in a bundle with Sonic Mania, one of the best Sonic games ever made, for like $30. And that's an absolutely fantastic deal.